What's up, guys? My name is Jacob, and recently I've been seeing a wave of videos come out on social media. One specifically by a creator named Henny117, who put out a video on being a quote unquote cooked computer science student. Now, mind me, my voice is going to sound like shit because I am super sick right now, but I just got out of a hot bath, so hopefully that'll help me get this video out for you guys. But after watching these videos and realizing that, my generation is all going through the exact same thing, that the AI revolution is not doing any of us any favors. By and large, I thought I'd share my story of being a cooked ex business student. And I kind of wanted to share my road of how I think that although college should be avoided unless you know exactly what you want to do, like a doctor or a lawyer or any profession that is directly requiring you to obtain a certain level of education. I also think that it can be of use to you in just gaining overall life experience, just like anything, obviously. But I don't want everybody to discount college. I still think it's a very important thing for our society. I think it just needs to be approached differently. So hopefully, me sharing my story can get other people to open up about their story and just make the world a better place for everybody so we can kind of help the future generations make better decisions for themselves, which, past generations don't seem to be wanting to do for us. So I started business school when I was 17 years old, fresh out of graduating high school. Um, Man, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do in school. I had no idea what I wanted to be, where I wanted to go in life, who I was at all, of course. I mean, who does at 17 years old, right? And so, with me having had an entrepreneurial spirit in middle school and high school, for example, when I was, 11 or 12 years old, me and my best friend X, we would we, we would go around our neighborhood and we would shovel driveways for 10, $20 a piece. And I was filling a shoebox by the time I was 12 years old with as much cash as I could muster up from my community. I also remember going to band camp one summer, and as kind of a participation award for going to this band camp, every single member or participant got a free harmonica. And me, at again 11 or 12 years old, I thought it would be a good idea to take that harmonica and go make some money with it, of course, as any child would be thinking. So I went down to the local Canadian Tire. Shout out my fellow Canadians. Um, and I went down there with, I'm pretty sure, a fedora, and threw that bitch on the ground, and and I started busking. And I think I busked for a good hour or two. I'm gonna say it was an hour before I gave up. I think the police came and either told me to go, or maybe a manager told me to go, or something like that. I don't know, but I made a good like $13. I'm pretty sure I got some spare change. I had one lady offer me credit card, and we didn't have Apple Pay back then, so I had to refuse. But on top of that, in 12th grade, I had kind of started my own little mafia in high school where I would recruit kids from younger grades, and basically we kind of took over the vending machine business by selling chocolate bars cheaper, chocolate bars and pop cheaper than than the vending machines. Because I would go to the dollar store, get a chocolate bar for $1, sell it for $1.50 or $2, which was always cheaper than the $2.50 or $3 that it was in the vending machine. Same thing with pop or soda, as you Americans would call it. And eventually, we got shut down after one of my recruits asked the vice principal if she would like to buy any soda. Uh, so yeah, I just kind of always had that business mind, and whether it was shoveling driveways or busking or um, you know infiltrating the local economy at my high school, I always had a business mind. And I really just think that came from me being good with people. I don't think I was necessarily going to be Warren Buffett by any means, but I just think I had the it factor when it came to emotional intelligence or communicating with others, um, which I think is going to help my YouTube career, but it didn't necessarily, help me in business education. So with me being pushed really, really hard toward that field, and in 2020 when I graduated, there was still opportunities in that field. Um, AI hadn't taken over the entire white collar industry yet, and things were still relatively affordable, if not more affordable than ever, with a lot of prices crashing and deflating in 2020. So I went into business education with a hopeful mind and a weary heart, and just an excited demeanor for the future. I was hopeful, truly. And then what ended up happening to me, which I think I'm actually really lucky for nowadays, is my first year. I did absolutely terrible my first semester. I was looking at flunking out my first semester. Everything went online. I had literally no idea how to focus or learn without being in an in-person setting. I struggle with ADHD, and at the time I was unmedicated. As you might be able to tell, now I am medicated, and I can focus on one thing and maintain a single train of thought for an extended period of time. And it doesn't impair me as much as it did when I was a 17-year-old goober. So, um, with everything being online and my lack of ability to focus, I lost the plot. I was cooked. I was fucked for real. And at the time, I was living at home and I worked full time at a grocery store, a popular chain in Canada called Save On Foods. I worked at the local Save On Foods for about 2 years. At this time, I was about a year into it when I graduated high school and started college. And my mom came to me after I had talked to her about how I wasn't doing well in school and how I wasn't feeling it. And she told me, Jacob, do you want to work at Save On Foods for the rest of your life? And I said, yeah, definitely not. No, in how I would put it, not talking to my mom, talking to you guys. Uh, fuck no, baby. Um, no, I don't. I don't want to work at a goddamn grocery store for the rest of my life with all these fucking losers who didn't want anything better for themselves. No offense to grocery store workers, that was just my particular situation at the grocery store that I worked at. There's a lot of people who had just given up hope and didn't want anything better for themselves or didn't think themselves good enough to deserve better or even try for better. So I said to her, no, of course not. Of course I don't. And in my second semester, I turned it around and I stuck with it, and I got my pretty certificate of business administration. It's got my name on it in pretty bold letters. And that certificate did absolutely nothing for me. Nor would any other certificate or piece of paper that I would have gotten from that institution done me any good. What actually did me good was the pursuit of the word in my diploma that I was chasing. So in Canadian college, I have no idea how it works in America. It might be the exact same system, but basically a 1-year degree, 1 year of education is a certificate. 2 years of education is a diploma, and 4 years is a degree, whether that be a bachelor's degree or whatever it's called at different particular individual schools in Canada. I was aiming for the latter. I was aiming for the middle former. I don't know what the proper adjective is for that, but I was aiming for my diploma. I completed my 1-year certificate, which is just a general certificate in business administration, and I was aiming for my 2-year diploma for business management. And just having that pursuit is pretty much what led me to every bit of success that I'm experiencing in my real life right now. But it actually has nothing to do with business education. So I have always been working. I've been working since I was 12 years old. Not only was I busking on the streets for random strangers with a harmonica that I didn't know a single song. I didn't know a single song on a harmonica. I was just playing that shit. I was just making sound. That is so funny to think that I did that. But I had just had a job since I could have a job. My mom ran a coffee shop when I was 12. I worked there for a year. She ran an ice cream shop when I was 13. I worked there for a year. And at 14, you can legally work in Canada. So I worked at a car wash. And then just anywhere we went, I was job to job to job, bouncing around, always working. I always wanted money. I had always had a support system around me that pushed me to make money. Um, and that really fostered my now, what I deem for myself to be an impressive amount of independence. I mean, I'm pretty much the only one of my friends that I know that has my own apartment. Like, it's kind of fucked when you think about it, that no other 23, 22, 21, 24, 25 year olds in my city that I am personally friends with have their own apartment. They all live with their parents. And that's no shade to those people. They are actually making a good decision. Like, why would you go and waste $1,500 to $2,000 a month of your own money to rent an apartment when you could live for free and actually live like a decent life and feed yourself well and you know pursue future opportunities with that saved money, right? Excuse me. Sorry, I ate 6 chili dogs before filming this video, which was not a good idea. Um, so mind me being a little gassy on top of my shitty sounding voice from having a cold. But um, I consider myself to have an impressive amount of independence due to always being pushed to have a job. Um, so even while I was in college, I was working 2 jobs on top of being a full time student. Um, I had worked for a landscaping supplies company in which I ran a front end loader, which is just one of them heavy equipment machines that has the big bucket on the front. And I would scoop up rocks and pebbles and mulch and fill up people's boxes of their pickups and dump truck trailers and dump trucks, I guess, with all these different materials. And um, I was having a little bit of trouble with my boss around the time that a guy came in and kind of just like sniped me off the work site. Like, he just kind of walked up to me and was like, "Hey, do you want a better job in every conceivable way? Well, have I got a deal for you?" So yeah, I got a job as a landscaper, but after doing the interview with this guy for the landscaping company, I told him that I was pursuing a diploma in business management. To which he said, "Well, that's perfect. I'm looking for a projects manager for my landscaping company." And I had just turned 18, super excited to get into the workforce, like the real workforce, start putting some shit on my resume that actually meant something. So I started working for this guy. And after, you know, 7 or 8 months of working 2 jobs, I would do one day a week at this landscaping supplies company. And I would do maybe 4 or 5 days at the landscaping company. These were 2 completely separate entities, just so you know. I would also go to school full time, 5 classes per semester, which was a terrible idea and a horrible workload and crazy high amount of stress for an 18-year-old guy. And trying to balance a girlfriend and friends. And I ran track in college. I was just doing way too much, but eventually that burnout set in, and I couldn't work the landscaping job anymore. I couldn't run track anymore. I just, it wasn't feasible with how many things that I, was balancing at the time. I was living on my own as well for the first time. And I, yeah, I was just burning out, and money just wasn't worth my time. But after leaving the landscaping company, losing my job at the landscaping supplies company because the seasonal work had dried up. He didn't need to make sandbags anymore because there's only a certain amount that are needed around the area, right? That was what I was doing the one day a week. Um, so yeah, I actually got a job at an old folks home, like a retirement home, as a line cook or a prep cook or something like that. And I started there, and after like a couple weeks, I was just kind of doing everything at this place. I was like a janitor and an assistant, and like I was helping with planning events and executing event planning and stuff like that. And although the job was enjoyable, I took like an hour and a half break on Christmas Day to go and open gifts with my family, and they didn't like that, so they fired me. Um, which in Canada we have something called probation, which is the first 3 months at a company. They can fire you for any reason without cause. That again might be a thing everywhere else. I have no idea. Um, yeah, so I got let go, so I'm jobless, and I always constantly have to have a job. Hold on, I'm gonna drink this chocolate milk, hopefully without revealing the brand because I'm not sponsored. But hey, chocolate milk brand, your shit tastes kind of good, so shoot me a call if this video blows up. Um, so yeah, I got fired from the old folks home. I start throwing resumes out there, and because I had project manager on my resume from the landscaping company, I got called to be a manager of a bar, and it was like this really shitty dive bar. This place called Mad Hatters in and yeah, I took this job and I trained under the current manager who I was supposed to be replacing after they moved on to a better job managing some golf course. Turns out after like a month or two of training under this manager and learning all of my duties, they decided not to leave. And so I still needed a job, and they said, well, hey, you can be a bartender. You're good with people. Why don't you try that? So I did, and I actually loved it. Honestly, it was. If you've ever seen the show Bar Rescue, it was basically like an episode of Bar Rescue every day, like every single day. Just John Taffer never shows up, and yeah, it was just wild. Like all the staff, excluding myself, because I'm not a complete degenerate, but all the staff was either drunk or on drugs all day, every day. We had girls like staff and management shaking ass on the tables and making out with people that were way older than them. Um, very consensually, just doing degenerate homewrecker shit. um, yeah, it was it's just wild, man. Staff fondling each other and shit, not on some like unconsensual shit. It was just weird. It was just fucking weird, man. It's just odd. Maybe there was some bad shit, but I wasn't aware of any of that. Um Anyways, 8 months after I started at this bar, they closed down. Obviously, you can't uh, live on in an episode of Bar Rescue every day without becoming another statistic, as as the show told us, right? So I got a job at another bar for 3 days. Excuse me, it's a place called Sharks Club, and I worked there for 3 days. And on my third day, I got fired. Um, and the manager was very quick to tell me that she really, really liked me. She actually loved having me around. Excuse me, it was nothing against me, but they just couldn't keep me. A week later, they shut down as well. So I keep looking for jobs, and I find a job at another bar. It's a beautiful cocktail bar downtown in my city, and it was just a vibe. And I worked there for like 3 or 4 shifts before I get a call from this place called the Overlander Mountain Lodge, which is a beautiful bar in Jasper, Alberta, Canada. I had applied there, just on a whim, not expecting to hear back. And I got a response. Turns out the manager was also from Grand Prairie, so I guess that caused some interest. And after a video chat with me, he thought that I had charisma and I would be a great fit for the team. So I couldn't turn down living in the mountains. What am I going to do? So I go there and I said to my boss at the cocktail bar in my city, hey, if it doesn't work out at this job in a month, can I come back? Because I really like it here and I just can't turn down this opportunity right now. They said, yeah, of course. So I go, I try it out, and I actually enjoyed the work. Like, the lodge was beautiful, the view was amazing. Every morning, waking up to the sunrise, while you're setting tables, doing mise en place, and polishing wine glasses, just watching that scenic view of the mountain, of the mountain range. Every morning at sunset as it turns pink was just fantastic. But unfortunately, I just didn't really meet anybody else my age at that time, and I just was getting really, really burnt out really, really fast, working 12 to 13 hours a day, pulling double shifts for a month straight with no human connection and no real free time. I decided exactly a month after I had started there, I did the whole month of September there. I said, fuck this. And I didn't even tell anybody, man. I just drove away. Straight up, packed all my things in the car, and I drove back to my city. And I called my boss from the previous job that I had done a couple shifts at and loved, the cocktail bar. And I said, hey, I don't know if you were serious, but I need that job back. And October 16th, I think I started with my first day back. This is 20, this is 2023. Yeah, 2023. October 2023. I started back there, and I worked at the bar. I worked at that bar, a cocktail bar, for about 2 years total. Um, and I would just work odd jobs here and there, trying things out to see if I could make some more money or actually find a career, outside of the bar. And my bosses were very lenient and, supportive in me finding a real career. Because I worked really hard at that bar and got them a lot of great reviews on Google. And I think I just really loved being a bartender, which made me good at the job, right? So they were super supportive. And eventually, a lady came into the bar and offered me an opportunity while drunkenly ranting to random guys my age at the bar about how she was looking for an electrician's apprentice at her company in which she was working in administration for. I had overheard her asking all these random people if they wanted to start an apprenticeship, and so I just butted in and said, "Hey, did you say 40 hours a week, 8 to 5, and basically guaranteed work for the rest of my life as an electrician's apprentice?" And she said, "Yeah, in a couple of years you could be making upwards of $50 an hour." That is complete bullshit, but I said, "Hell yeah, that's what I want." So I started there, and I worked as an electrician's apprentice for, I don't even know if it was 6 months. I did like 4 months at that place where that lady was offering that job. And I did a month at another place, and I did like 3 shifts at another place after that. And then I, over time, over that 6 months or so that I was an electrician's apprentice, I realized that it just wasn't the career for me. It's not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Um, you basically don't get to talk to anybody when you're an electrician's apprentice, and I found it very lonely and draining and just not interesting enough to keep me passionate about it. So I decided to go to a job fair in my city. And at this job fair, there was a lot of oil field companies. I live in a city that is very strong in the oil field industry. Has a lot of companies in that field, and so I threw out applications everywhere. I was getting a lot of interest. I had people emailing me that same day. And whilst I was there, I shook hands with the base manager of one oil field company. And the next day, I was hired at this place. Um, at the job fair, he said, "Hey, can you come in for an interview tomorrow?" And I thought, "Oh shit, like seems like a pretty serious. Sorry for the cut. Seemed like a pretty serious opportunity that I didn't want to um, turn down, and I really didn't think I was qualified for. Honestly, I wasn't sure. But the next day, I go in, and it turns out not to really be much of an interview at all. He pretty much just slid a paper in front of me, showed me some numbers that were higher than I've ever seen before in my entire life. So there was pretty much no question that I was going to accept this offer in his mind, and I did. And I've actually loved it so far. Turns out that making a living wage really does something for a guy's mental health. And I've been working in the oil field for a little over 5 months now. It'll be 6 months in April. And yeah, if I had known that just having management on my resume would have bounced me into this career, maybe I wouldn't have felt so much regret while I was bouncing my way here, or so much self-hatred or just frustration that, I didn't do something more productive with my life. But I think the real lesson from this is that school is what you make of it, regardless of what you take. Everybody says school is a networking opportunity, and it really is, but you have to continue that networking afterwards. And in how difficult the job market seems to be becoming and how hard it's becoming in reality, I mean, we see all the job cuts happening countrywide, not just in Canada, but all over the world from, the AI revolution. Keep networking, guys. Real life is where you find the opportunities. Okay? Education might be found online, but handshakes, smiles, and in my case, a whole fuck ton of privilege really goes a long way. So, all the young people out there, I really hope you don't give up. I really hope you keep pushing, and even when it's hard, be resourceful. Lean on your community. Talk to people. Okay? Listen. Sit back. Real bosses sit back and listen. Okay? Young Dolph said that, so don't forget it. Yeah, trust the process, man. Shit's hard out here. All right, and even though I'm making a living wage, it's still hard out here for a pimp. So, yeah, never give up, guys. All right, I love you. Drop your story in the comments. I'm really curious to see, like, what are other people my age experiencing other than, the headlines that I see in the news or just, on YouTube videos or whatever. Are you going through something similar? I'd love to talk to you. Like and subscribe if you want to hear my voice again, or drop a dislike, drop a hate comment if you think I'm absolutely repulsive. Whatever you feel, man. It's cool. All right, love you, peace, and see you in the next one.